Hello, I'm Jade LeBrock from North Potomac, Maryland, here at WBOC's historic Studio D. You're watching Delmarva Life.
And we want to thank Jade for joining us in the audience today. Well, you know, this time of year we usually lose a lot of color outside as leaves turn brown in fall and the flowers die. But not all plants stop blooming when the calendar reaches November and December. Jenny Rosenkrantz with the University of Maryland Extension Office joins us this afternoon with some beautiful seasonal flowers, and they are pretty. My favorite color, pink. What are these?
This is a fall blooming camellia. So a lot of people are familiar with the spring blooming camellia, the ones that comes out in the springtime and everybody goes, oh, they're so spectacular and all. And they are. But the fall blooming camellia, I adore. Is a lot easier to grow in my opinion. It takes full sun, whereas the spring blooming camellia says, oh, I need a little bit of shade in the fall. This one loves full sun, and it's very, well, it's fairly drought tolerant, which I really love. It's more compact, so you can get actually more of them in your garden if you want to, or if you have a small garden and not that much space. But my favorite part about it, they bloom September, October, November into December, and sometimes it depends on how mild the winter, a little later, but almost always to Christmas time.
Yeah, and you actually brought these from your yard, and I know we've had a few frosts already this season.
Yeah, I've already cleaned up all my annuals. They're already toasted and had to, clean up the garden. And these guys are still in full bloom. Wow. They're wonderful.
When's a good time to plant these things?
As long as the ground is not frozen, I think now is a great time because the garden centers have them because they are in bloom. People go, oh, isn't that absolutely gorgeous? And it's a great time to plant them. The fall plants get their roots established without too much of a competition. It's just a lot easier. And then come springtime when we have the warmer weather, they're already firmly established and they've got their little systems going. Okay, here's the water, here's the nutrients. I'm a good plant.
So they're kind of like, they remind me of knockout roses because you can kind of plant them and forget about them, and they just bloom on their own.
They do, they do. Now the flowers remind me a little bit like daylilies. They're on for more than a day, but they're very, very soft and fragile. And like for instance, this one, if I move it around, I'll lose some petals and all that kind of stuff. So you often have like a mulch of pink around the pink ones, which is so cool. I think that's really neat.
That adds a little extra color. Now, if they bloom through December, should we cut them back after that, or is there anything we need to do?
You want to cut them back in the early springtime because they're going to be making their buds throughout the summer. So cutting them back in the springtime after everything's done, that's just fine. And right now you just enjoy them. I mean, they're okay as a cut flower if you bring them in that day and just don't mind a few little falling petals, but they're so beautiful. The colors are bright red. This is a soft red. This is Bonanza. Soft pinks, pure whites. They're gorgeous.
And so, and then they're pretty much frost resistant. Even the hard frost resistant.
Well, the harder the frost, the more difficult. Yeah. And you might actually have to look inside the bush to find some of the flowers that are gorgeous. But that's okay as long as there's a little bit of protection. And if you have company and you say, oh, I'm going to have a horrible frost, you can put something over top of the plant to protect it from the frost that day, and then take it off, and then your neighbors will come by and go, wow, look what you have.
Are there any other plants beside these that we might see this time of year flowering and blooming?
This is pretty much it for the flowering and blooming ones. Although, the most beautiful things about fall is the fall leaves on some trees. Like right now, the Japanese maples are spectacular. They're the last to lose their leaves, and right now they're on fire. They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
So, if you have only a small space for one or two, I would go with the flowers. But if you have more space, go for the flowers and foliage too.
Yeah.
But the fact that these come in so many beautiful colors, choose one.
Yeah, I notice in mums, mums always last through the fall, but now they're starting to.
Oh, mums are already done.
Yeah, they're pretty much done. So should we go ahead and cut them back and mow them over, or?
Well, not mow them over.
Okay. I've done that before.
Well, and that, if you have a lot, that's really good.
Yeah.
But if they're in mulch, you're tossing mulch all over the place.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
I think just go ahead and cutting them back. Right now is a good time to clean up all the annual flowers and just make your garden look more tidy. If you have an herb garden, go ahead and clean around it. It's still not a bad time to plant pansies. Pansies are still gorgeous, and they'll look beautiful until we have some really, really cold nights, and then they'll just kind of like hunker down.
Yeah.
And then when we have warmer days, they're going to brighten up and be beautiful. So there's always nice things out there.
Yeah, yeah. And before you know it, spring will be here.
Thank goodness.
I know. Time goes so fast. Thank you, Jenny. So much good information. These are beautiful. Thanks for bringing them in.
Thank you.
And if you'd like more information, some more gardening tips perhaps, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the show tab. Well, still to come on Delmarva Life, infidelity, murder, cat fights. It's all in a day's work for some soap stars, especially on The Young and the Restless. What I found out from those stars during my visit to the set. But first, Peter Bergman, who plays Jack Abbott on The Young and the Restless, talks with me about his time spent on Delmarva.
So I did my high school years in Prince George's County outside of Washington, D.C., and summers I spent a lot of time at Ocean City, Maryland. Yeah. So Salisbury was a regular haunt, and my parents had a place on 50th Street very near the convention center and on the water.
We have more from the folks at The Young and the Restless right after this.